Welcome to the Story of Every Man. Today's guest is Scott Brown, leadership and business consultant. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, John. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here with you
Thank
today.
you. It's an honor for me to be able to interview you today. I met you at Longview Connections, and
Yes.
I've met several people from there that have been able to come onto the podcast. I'm really happy to be able to share what they do, but also to get for people to just get to know the person behind the business. I think that's for me as an individual. I enjoy learning about people and kind of how they ended up where they are. So we're gonna do that with you today.
Oh, fantastic.
All right.
Yeah, I was actually born in Mesquite, probably
Uh-huh.
about the age of 2 years old. My mom and dad, my dad was actually a truck driver at that point in time. And when I was two, we moved back to, and I say back, Liberty City, Sabine area, just outside of Longview. And so they built a house. So my grandfather had some property there, and they built a house. And so that's kind of where I started to grow up. But then my dad became a pastor.
Oh,
And my grandfather was a pastor. My dad was a pastor. Uncle was a pastor. I've got two cousins right now that are pastors.
wow.
Yeah, I said I never wanted to be a pastor. And interesting thing is that I became a pastor.
Oh, you did. Wow. Okay.
But that's another story.
Yeah.
So we may dive into that later.
Wow. That's okay. See, we're already learning something that I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
expect.
real
Yeah.
quick. Yeah, I've got
Okay.
a lot of stories.
All right. All right. So you moved back.
Yeah.
Did you stay in this area ever since?
Yes and no, and I'll explain that. When I was in the third grade, of course, I was going to Sabine, and then my dad, of course, was called into pastoring at that point in time and moved to Tyler.
Okay.
Moved to Tyler, was there for 3.5 years. From Tyler, we moved to Corsicana
Oh, wow.
for roughly another three years plus. Came back for a small stint to Sabine, then went to Carthage. My dad got a church in Carthage and was there until I graduated from Carthage. Don't hold that against me, okay? I know this is Longview, so don't hold that against me.
No
But yeah, I
comment.
graduated from Carthage. Then went to Austin College, played football, there as well, and then lived in Austin for a stint of time, and then came back here.
Okay.
And yeah, met my wife and got married and lived in Longview area
Mhm.
for some time, and then we moved into Kilgore,
Okay.
and that's kind of where we call home right now.
Sounds good. Did your father was he lead pastor at any of
He
these churches?
was, yeah, he was lead pastor in three of those
Oh,
churches. Sure
okay.
was.
And he's still pastoring now.
He's not. He's retired.
Okay.
Yeah, he's retired from pastoring at this point in time. They actually became missionaries later.
Oh, wow.
Went to Costa Rica for language school,
Uh-huh.
and then went to right outside south of Tijuana called Rosarita, and was helping missionaries in that area. My mom had some health issues, came back into Longview. They
Mhm.
actually lived in Longview for some time, and then of course she passed away this past January.
Oh, man, I'm
And
sorry to hear
that's all
that.
right. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And my dad's 82nd birthday is this coming Friday.
Holy
And
moly.
so, yeah, so I get an opportunity to celebrate with him.
That's great. Man, I want how is he doing?
He's doing better.
Yeah.
I mean, after being married for 62 years,
Wow.
and losing your spouse, your best friend, yeah, it's played a toll on him. But, I'm going to say this, and having a faith in God, he knows where she is, and he knows one day he's going to see her again.
Amazing. Amazing, man. So, your college career, you said you played football.
Mhm.
What position did you play?
Yeah, I played in Carthage. I played center, and in Austin College, I played guard
Okay.
and deep snapped, and that's really what got me in. But the funny thing is, I'll tell you a quick story about that. It was my freshman year.
Uh-huh.
In freshman year, I know, hey, I'm not going to get playing time. I did special teams, I deep snapped, things of that nature. But I think it was the third game of the season. There was a senior that was in front of me, and I didn't think anything about it. About the fourth play of the game, he tears his ACL.
Oh, wow.
Guess who they call up? Yeah, freshman, me. You talking about scared to death, man.
Man. Talk about putting you to the test right away,
Yeah,
huh?
right. Real
Yeah.
quick, brought me into the fire, and
Yeah.
and I started from then on. So
Yeah.
yeah, had
That's
a
pretty cool.
great season, great time, won conference championships, and yeah, we had a good time.
Was there a specific reason why you didn't continue playing, or did you just finish out college and stop?
Yeah, specific reason why I didn't continue playing. I played, the years I was at Austin College. wasn't good enough to go to the pros. Knew
Okay.
that. Yeah, knew that. Wasn't gonna happen, and, so would I have liked to? Yeah, but,
Yeah.
I wasn't
You
gifted,
kinda knew?
talented in that area.
Alright, fair
I was
enough,
very
fair enough.
small for my
Yeah.
size, for professional football at that time,
I
John.
think I played one year, 1 season, and I realized it was not gonna work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, after I get hit several times, I'm like,
Yeah, I
"Yeah, I
get
don't
you.
think it's gonna work out." Well, that's good. You said you pastored for a while.
Yeah.
How did that
How
come
did that
about?
all come about?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. After college, came back here, met my wife. In fact, I had a biology degree and was going back for a bachelor's of science in nursing. Was at Good Shepherd Hospital. My wife at that point, well, she wasn't my wife. She was a social worker
Yeah.
for Good Shepherd Hospital. That's where we met. And 1994, got married, and I really was involved in church, very much involved in our church. Of course, I grew up in church.
Mhm.
As I said, my dad was a pastor, and family were all pastors involved in church. And so I was involved in a church there in Kilgore. The interesting thing is that I told you before, I never really wanted to be a pastor, and I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly side of pastoring.
Oh,
I did,
yes.
the whole
Yeah.
ministry. We all know that.
Yeah.
We know that. And but the funny thing is that when I was at the church serving, I was also a missions coordinator. So I'd served in several different capacities within our church. And the funny thing is that we were putting a missions team together to go into Saltillo, Mexico,
Uh-huh.
to work with some missionaries that we were supporting.
I have
Um,
family in
do
Saltillo.
you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we lived there for 7 years. I was a
Holy
missionary in
moly.
Saltillo for 7 years.
Holy cow.
Sure was. Yeah.
Did you live there in the
Uh,
years that they had the cartel stuff?
yes. Yeah,
Wow.
and that's what brought us back because my wife and 3 daughters were in a kidnapping
Yeah.
attempt,
Oh
and
my
so that brought us
gosh.
back in 2013.
Yeah. Do you know the movie about it? There was a movie made
Yes.
about it, yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah, and,
It's
yeah, we
insane.
lived it. It was an interesting time. We were down there. We went to language school in 2006 there in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Had language school for about 9 months. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I was
Wow.
36 years old learning a new language. Yeah,
Yeah.
and man, that was tough for me. And but we moved to Saltillo. We were working with some other missionaries. We had a children's home we were working with, had a church down there we were working with. We were also planning churches. Um, you know, I, I, I would say that first year was a very difficult time because number one, I didn't know the language very well. Yeah, I'd gone to language school, but language school and actually being able to speak and communicate, you have to be involved. You have to be in the culture, the environment to really understand it, to really learn it.
Right.
And luckily, we had some missionaries there that definitely helped us. But what began to happen is that as we continued, we knew of the cartels, but we didn't have a lot of problems in Saltillo.
Right.
It was more, we felt, a safe zone. What I had heard is that some of the upper echelon of the cartels actually lived in Saltillo, and they didn't want all that happening in their
In there.
backyard.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay.
But really, to come to find out what it was, and this is fact, and please check, fact check me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the governor
You
at that
lived it.
time, yeah, yeah, you're
I'm not
fine.
gonna yeah.
But the
Yeah.
but the governor, this was back in 2012. The governor had then been asked to be a head of the pre-party, and so he had married one of the Zetas' daughters. It was his fourth marriage. He had already been excommunicated from the church, and anyway, but
Holy
he
cow.
had married one of the Zetas' daughters, and they had a contract. Basically, you don't mess with us, we won't mess with you. This was the governor of the state of Coahuila, and Saltillo was the state capital.
Yeah.
And we had already had some dealings with some of the cartels, but nothing major until he resigned as governor of the state of Coahuila to take a position in Mexico City,
Uh-huh.
and then everything broke loose that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember I was actually uh, it was a Saturday. I was driving. We lived up in kind of in the mountains. Saltillo is a mile high city,
Yeah.
and so we kind of lived in the mountains and kind of the church and where we were kind of inside the city down below. And I remember I had a good friend of mine with me, and we were going to go to the church, pick up some tables and chairs to come back to the house. We had a college and career day, and I remember being there. I had a trailer behind me, Ford Excursion, big truck. Everything else was small there in Mexico, these small little cars. And I remember hearing this gunfire just rattling, rattling, pa-da-da-da-da, pa-da-da-da-da. And of course, I'm looking around. We're small, in a small little area, two lanes.
Yeah.
And if you've been to Mexico, you know that you have the street, small sidewalk, and there's houses. I mean,
Right.
there's not room.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of room. And I have a trailer, 16-foot trailer behind me I'm pulling. And we're in a major intersection, and all of a sudden, this Escalade comes around the corner and stops. Guys jump out with machine guns, and they're shooting back behind them. And of course, then we're seeing tracers,
Yeah.
these big 50 calibers, and it was the Marines, the
Mexican Marines?
Mexican Marines
Uh-huh.
were coming behind them, and they're, the cartel, the guys, the Zetas, that type of running away from them, and all you see is this big 50 caliber. And you don't forget a sound like that. I was not in the military. I'll tell you that. I don't forget that sound. And I'm in the highest car, John.
Yeah.
I'm in a big Ford Expedition,
Yeah.
and everything else is small little Nissans, and
Yeah. Wow.
And so my friend, I just put him down and I ducked on top of him, and I'm just looking above the dashboard, and all I see is Mexican Marines say, try to turn around,
Yeah.
and go back, go back. And I'm going, where do I go? I can't get this, big expedition with this trailer around. And I saw one car pull around. He jumped the curb, and I said, that's my cue. I'm going to do the very same thing. So man, we got
Oh,
out of there.
man.
And from that point, even at our church, we had to put bars on our windows. We had to put cement walls up in case grenades were thrown in. The bars were to keep the grenades from being thrown into the windows, because there were car chases all the time with the Mexican Marines, the
Uh-huh.
federales.
So you
chasing the
stayed a little
cartels.
while even after
We
that?
stayed a while after that. We sure
Okay.
did. Yeah, that happened in 2012, probably the beginning of 2012. And but it wasn't until 2013 things got a little dicey. And I say that because Saltillo is known as the little Detroit of Mexico.
Yeah.
So you had General Motors that had been there since 1950s. Chrysler Dharma had a huge valley. They got it Chrysler Valley, made cars from the ground up. Then you had Freightliner that just built a multi-million square foot trucking company. They built trucks from the ground up.
Right.
And then you had all the expats, all the internationals that had come in from all over the world. And it was 200 plus supporting companies. So we had people from England and from Canada and Germany and Korea, and I mean, all over the world. And they were part of our church too. And so our church, we spoke English as well as Spanish, and we had a translator that would do that. We had, the transistors where you had the headphones, and we would preach in English, and he would translate in Spanish, and vice versa sometimes. But I remember, the situation that we had is that a lot of those expats were being pulled out because the federales had come in,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of extortion going on. They would go into the casinos or some businesses, and they would extort people. In fact, even in Monterey, which is only about an hour from Saltillo, they went inside this casino and torched it because the guy was not going to pay the extortion money.
Oh,
And
man.
so they killed all of these people. I mean, it was horrible things. They would go behind police and shoot them, and then hang them over the bridge. They called them piñatas.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. And for my kids at that time, I had a young teenager. My other one was about 4. The other one was about 2.
Oh,
And so we
wow.
had to shield them a lot of times. And I remember going underneath a bridge, and of course there were guys that were decapitated, but they were hung onto the bridge, and had to divert, away from that for my
Right.
kids not to see those types of things. It was a war zone.
Yeah.
It really was. It was a war zone. And but what happened is that as the federal government came in and started shutting those things down, they began to do kidnappings, and they were kidnapping some of the expats, or trying to. So a lot of the companies were pulling out the internationals, and so because of that situation,
Okay.
and for us as missionaries, we're internationals, but we were there helping the people. And I remember it was a Saturday, and I won't go into the long story, but it was a situation where my wife and 3 daughters were in a car by themselves. I was at the church. It was a men's Saturdays meeting and things of that nature. They were coming to the church, and and a guy had been telling them. In fact, it was several of them in the car, and spotted them, and the chase was on, and had them pulled over at one point in time. And just by the grace of God, my wife, which was driving a Dodge Caravan,
Yeah.
small little Dodge Caravan.
Yeah.
I call her my little indie driver, because
I
it
bet
was
you learned a lot.
oh, she
Yeah.
did, and because she had to weave, and
Yeah.
and almost, there was a concrete barrier in between, and she said they were trying to wreck the car, trying to pull
Wow.
her in, and so she had to back off and gas, and you know, it was for her. And I remember my oldest daughter. She was about 14 then, and I got a phone call, and it was a cell phone, and it was my wife's number, and I answered it, but when I said hello, I could hear my oldest daughter scream, "Dad, they're about to get us. Dad, they're about to get us." If you've ever seen the movie Taken with Liam
Yes.
Neeson, and
Yes.
his daughter's under the bed, and he says, "You have got to tell me what markings, what they look like when they come in to get you, because I have to have something to go on."
Yeah.
That's exactly what went through my mind. First off, God help them.
Yeah.
Secondly is I gotta know, hey, what's the license plate? What does the car look like? Because if they get you, I gotta have something to find out who got you and how can we track you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was with my oldest daughter. Baby, you gotta tell me, she's screaming, she's hollering, baby, calm down. Tell me, what goes the car? What model is the car? What's the license plate of the car? Give me some kind of markings because one time they actually had them stopped. They got out of the car coming towards my family. And fortunately for Gayla, she just gassed it and almost ran over one. I
Right.
said almost. I'm not going to say that. But you know what I was about to
Yeah.
say, and I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things. But needless to say, God was with them,
Yes.
and some other things happened. I won't go into that.
Did
During
did that end up being
during
the
that chase.
catalyst where you're
That
like,
was
"It's
the
time to go"?
catalyst. They told us, our mission board and others said, "Hey, lay low, just lay low. Let's let this calm down. Let's lay low." And so we did. And if anybody went out, I went out. They stayed at the house. I went out, got groceries, did what I needed to do. The danger was real. We'd already heard of other kidnappings, other things going on, and so we found out, hey, this is a time to go, and it was in June of 2013, and we just threw our kids in the car and came on out. Yeah,
Wow.
and so well, my youngest daughter, she was born in Saltillo.
Are you serious?
Yes, I call
Oh,
her my
wow.
blonde hair, blue eyed, fair skinned Mexican.
Oh, man.
Yeah, she just graduated high school. Yeah,
Wow.
so
That's pretty cool.
yeah, she's cool. Yeah, so dual citizenship.
Man, Scott Brown, I'm gonna tell you, I did not expect this story.
I know.
Oh, my goodness. Was that your pastoring, or was that just your mission work at that point?
Yeah, that was a mission work at
Okay.
that point. And
Going
I
towards the pastoring.
going towards a pastor. And here's the thing, in June of 2013, I I had started reading a book called The 360 Degree Leader by John Maxwell. I don't know if you've ever heard of John Maxwell. He's written 90 books on leadership. He's the most authored, individual as far as writer on leadership. He was a pastor at one time.
Uh-huh.
But I began to read that book in 2007. Is when we were in Mexico at that point in time because I was having a difficult time. Me and other missionaries, we had a children's home there in Saltillo, and we had an American board and a Mexican board, and of course, trying to get them to connect. Right,
Mhm.
Both sides had ideals, both sides wanted certain things, and so me and the other missionary were kind of in the middle, and I had to learn, hey, how do we influence people? How do we communicate to connect both these sides? And so it was coming close to my birthday, and I remember my good friend said, "Hey, Scott, what do you want for your birthday?" I said, "I want this book by John Maxwell called The 360 Degree Leader. I need to learn how to lead up, how to lead down, and how to lead across, and to better communicate and connect with people." I read that book. So that leads me into when we came back in Saltillo, from Saltillo in 2013. Here I am as a missionary. We were supported by churches. We were supported by individuals. Didn't know what I was going to do. I went back to doing what I did before we went to Saltillo, Mexico, which was in real estate. I
Okay.
was a real estate investor. My wife had a business. It was called Head Over Heels Gymnastics. She did tumbling and cheer. She had 5 cheerleading squads, and she had a USGA, United States Gymnastics Association team. It was a power tumbling and trampoline that we traveled to the United States with. I was a USGA judge as a coach, for her, as well as doing real estate. So I went back and I said, okay, I'll just start back. I had a corporation at that time before we left called Brown & Brown Investments. It was investing in properties and went right back into that. And it was at that time that the pastor of our sending church, he had started the church in 1978 and he was getting ready to retire. And he came to me and said, "Scott, would you and your wife pray about becoming the next pastors?" And I said, "Yeah, we'll definitely pray about it." Remember, I had told you I never wanted to be a pastor. Remember that statement?
Yeah, I remember. I'm following this.
Yeah. And so, but God had led me, from the point of as a missionary, working in the church, continuing always to work in the church, becoming a missionary, and knowing that God brought us back for a reason. Yes, we were there because of my wife and $3 worth of kidnapping, but there was a bigger picture behind that, right?
Yeah.
God always has a bigger picture. We sometimes don't see it, but he always has a bigger picture for us. And so that led us into, yeah, this is what God is leading us to become. We became the pastors. The church voted on us, became the pastors of the church. And I realized I know nothing about leadership, John. It's one
Oh,
thing. It's
man.
one thing as a leader to have, AKA, some leverage over people,
Right.
AKA a paycheck or something.
Yeah.
It's another one to lead a whole bunch of volunteers. And every
Yes.
pastor that's probably listening to this says, "Yes, I agree. I understand. It's hard to, volunteer." And any
Absolutely.
nonprofit organizations know that too.
Yeah.
It's leading. How do you lead a whole bunch of volunteers, right?
Yeah.
And so what did I do? Jumped right back into John Maxwell, found out he had a coaching program to become a coach, speaker, and trainer through the Maxwell organization. I jumped right into that, not for anybody else, but for me, because I learned something, John. If I can't lead me, I can't lead anybody else.
Mhm.
I have to lead me first. And so I knew that's where I had to start. If there was going to be a change, if there was going to be anything that I wanted to see happen, I had to be led first. I had to lead me. I had to take responsibility for me, ownership from me. And so I jumped right into that. I invested in me first. And I think that's one of the things that we have to realize as men.
Mhm.
It's very important that we invest in us first. Why? Because we're always giving. We just came from Father's Day, right?
Yes.
This couple of days ago was
Yes.
Father's Day, 2026. And my dad is my hero. I wrote a Facebook post about that and, just who he was in my life. He was a pastor, he was a leader, been married for 62 years. I saw my dad take care of my mom. She had Parkinson's, she had a lot of other health issues. He was the primary caregiver.
How how long how
He
long
was
were
a
they
servant
married?
leader. 62 years they were married, John.
Jeez. Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
especially this day and time, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, dude.
yeah,
In
and
any day and
oh, you're
time.
not
Yeah.
joking. And
Yeah.
and you think, and how God really orchestrated them to become together. It was amazing. I mean, there was one year, 1 month, and 1 day, apart. As far as what I mean by that is that their birthdays fell 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day apart.
Holy
Yeah,
moly.
crazy. And
Yeah.
of course, they were married in October of the 11th. There's something about ones. I don't know what it is in their marriage, but
Yeah. Did you have a lot of conversations with your dad about his life and his past?
Oh, by all means, and
Yeah.
still today to this day, I still have a lot of conversations about his life. His father passed away when he was 18 years old. I never knew my dad's father. He had brain cancer. He was a truck driver. He was a multimillionaire, but lost it all as a businessman because people took advantage of him. He had a big heart.
Uh-huh.
Everything, all the
He was
stories
also
I've
a
heard.
giver.
Also a giver and loved to give, loved to give. But so there was a business background from there. And I asked my dad, I said, "Dad, did you ever want to become a businessman?" He said, "Not really." Understand, understand.
Yeah.
He began to preach actually when he was about 17 years old. My dad was preaching revivals. Now you gotta remember this is back in the 50s,
Yeah.
and he was doing those
Wow.
tent revivals and things of that nature. But needless to say, for my dad, he was my hero. I've talked with him about a lot of things and leadership, and I knew for me that if I wanted to be a better leader, I had to be a better person. I had to
Yeah.
grow me. And so that's why I jumped right into John Maxwell, became that coach, speaker, and trainer. And what happened is I began to share things that I was learning. I did that when I was in Saltillo, Mexico. I told you about
Yeah.
all the internationals there. And what I was doing is I was sharing things in Saltillo, Mexico, with a lot of the expats that were there because a lot of them were COOs, they were project managers, and we would have Saturday breakfast, or we would have lunches, and I would just share some things that I was learning in the book,
Uh-huh.
The 360-Degree Leader, and then other books that I was reading.
Did you find
Mhm.
that many of them did they also know uh, uh, about John Maxwell's writings, or
No,
was it something like you're
yeah,
bringing and they're
I
really
was
learning from
bringing
you?
something into there. Yeah, they none of them really at
Oh,
that point in time really had not read anything
okay,
of John Maxwell.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it really was. It was interesting, and so as I began to share that, they would say, "Hey, can you come into our company? Can we need to learn how to communicate better, and not just Spanish to English. We
Right.
need to learn how to really connect with these teams and really share vision and share ideals."
Right.
And so that opened up doors of opportunity for me to get into businesses at that point in time.
Mhm.
Okay, got into schools. I began to do certain conferences in some of the private schools there in Saltillo, Mexico. So that God was already starting to orchestrate that into my life,
Okay.
even in Saltillo. So when I came to become a pastor, one of the things that what did I do? I wanted to share what I was learning. I mean, that's what we do, right? When we
Right.
learn something, we want to share that. We want to let other people know, hey, this is going to benefit your life. This is going to help you.
Yeah.
And so we had business people in our church, and some of those were some of our elders and deacons in our church. And I said, hey, I'd like to share some things, and began to share some. So we created a little mastermind group and
Yeah.
brought them in. And these guys said, hey, this is great stuff. Can you come into our businesses and share that? Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to share this. And so, it opened up doors of opportunity, John. And as a pastor, and I want to say this, even as a Christian, it doesn't matter. And I know this is not, we're not talking Christianity and faith here,
This
but
is amazing.
it's part of
This
my
is
life.
amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just sharing my life with you. I realize that God gives us opportunities to share to our experiences with people, to help them grow, to help them become better. Because I honestly believe that's what our life is all about. It's
Yeah.
about helping people become better. It's about adding value to people's lives. And so as I began to share things with these businesses and these business owners, it gave me opportunity to really talk to people that, hey, they may never darken the door of a church, but they're listening to me in a business aspect that honestly, everything that John Maxwell has ever written actually comes from the Bible.
Right.
Because if you really want to know the greatest leadership aspects, go to the Bible.
Mhm.
In fact, John actually has a Bible that it's actually the Bible, but what he did is he took his books and he inserted certain values of his books that talks about what leadership, maybe characteristics that a particular character, such as maybe David, King David. We all
Right.
heard of David and Goliath, right? And so he'll take that and say, hey, this is a principle, that we need to look at, and he'll share, a little scripture or something with that. But I began to share that and look at that in my own life and share that with those that it then began to open up doors of opportunity to go into businesses to help them grow their businesses. First, grow the people. If you grow the people, and I also know this, if you grow the people inside your organization automatically grows.
Wow.
Automatically. I began to do how many years? It's been 6, 7 years ago. I started a Lead on Purpose event. And this past April was my sixth one to do at the Tempest Golf Club, and they've been very generous to me. They've been wonderful people to allow me to do it there, and I did it kind of out of selfish reasons. I
Uh-huh.
wanted to grow,
Yeah.
and so what I did is I began to bring in other business people in. Okay, so I've had actually the mayor Christian Ishihara and also Judge Bill Stout came in last year, 2025, and spoke at our event.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I've had like Mike Clements, and this past year I had Michael Clements Jr., who is a very big advocate, for the Children's Advocacy
Right.
Center. Okay, and then also his companies that he does. But I've had other mayors. I had Trey Patterson from all the Patterson dealerships, and he's been a huge supporter. In fact, I do most of their dealerships trainings and things of that nature. But what I'm saying is that I began to use that as a tool to add value to business owners, business managers, and just people who want to grow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when I started this years ago, as far as just sharing my story and sharing growth with people, the whole ideal is how can I add value? I was in a leadership position, but that didn't make me a leader. We know that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less,
Right.
John. And so every single one of us, everybody is listening to this podcast is a leader. Why? Because you lead people. You influence people all the time. I mean, yes, I influence my family. Do I
Right.
not? Yeah, I influence my friends. I influence the people at Walmart. I was just in Walmart the other day, and there was this lady coming to me, and I could tell she not having a good day. You've seen those people in
Yes.
Walmart. And I thought, hey, this is a great way to influence somebody in a positive way. So I just smiled,
Mhm.
just a big smile.
Yeah.
And she looked up at me, and I was smiling at her, and she started looking around like, who you smiling at, You
Yeah.
know? And as she got closer, she's kind of looking at me like, oh, you're smiling at me. And I'm just smiling at her, just looking at her. And I said, have a great day.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she just chuckled and she said, thank you so much. You have a great day too. And I thought for that instant, I changed her. I influenced her in a positive way. She forgot whatever it was on her mind that might have been a bad thought or something. Maybe her day wasn't going well, but I influenced her in a positive way. See, that's what leaders do. Leaders add value to people in a positive way. It's not about, the idea of leading. It's how am I leading people? That's the kicker right there.
Mm.
And so in all of this, the ideal of jumping into leadership when I was a pastor, it just grew because I wanted to add value to people. It opened up doors of opportunity. And so in 2023, I was faced with a dilemma. I noticed I was spending a lot of time coaching
Uh-huh.
and training, but I was also pastoring. And I said, God, I can't do both. I'm one person. So God, what is it? And I remember talking to our leaders, and I said, guys, I need your help. I need to pray about this. I need you to help me pray about this. I don't know what to do. I have a feeling of which way I need to go, but I want to make sure it's God and not me, right?
Right.
And so I took a little time, prayed about it. Had a good friend of mine. I won't tell you who it is. If I said it, people would know his name. But I said, hey, this is a dilemma. He said, I want to tell you something, Scott. He said, this is just my opinion. He said, but you're helping more people outside the church than you are inside the church. He said, I want you to think about that. And I began to pray about that. And I said, okay, God, you're opening up a door of opportunity for me to go into businesses, into the marketplace,
Right.
to influence people in a way that can change their life and point to you. I said, I can't do that all the time as a pastor because, well, sometimes as a pastor, there's a wall that goes up, right?
Yes.
People, you say a pastor, and people go, "Whoa, hang on a second,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
you're a pastor. I can't say this, I can't say this in front of you. I can't
Yeah.
think, But if you come in as a business strategist, a business coach, if you come in as someone, hey, I just want to help you
Mhm.
grow your business, grow your team, grow individually, become better, they're a little more open. The defenses kind of go down a little bit. Now I can help them grow in other areas of their life, not just in business. Now we can talk about the relationships with their spouse,
Mhm.
their kids, their friends, their finances. Now I can talk about different areas of their life because you and I both know we can't compartmentalize life.
No.
It all goes together,
Right.
all works together.
I think it's worse when people try to compartmentalize it, and it
100%, John.
yeah.
100%. And so, October 2023, I went before my church and I said, I'm resigning. And I resigned in October of 2023 to pursue what I really felt is really. And I told him, I said, listen, calling. A lot of people said, well, Scott, are you walking away from your calling? No, I'm not walking away from my calling. My calling is to share Jesus Christ with people all over the world. I'm doing that.
Right.
I'm doing that. I've been in several countries around the world doing just that. I've been with John Maxwell in several countries
Right.
sharing leadership principles that were really out of the Bible, but sharing really, to help people grow.
Yeah.
I've been in countries, other countries. I've done that. I'm fulfilling the calling that God put on my life, not to be a pastor. Pastor is a position. Don't get me wrong, and I understand. Please, but anything we do is a position. But it doesn't mean that that's all there is. My
Right.
calling is to share Christ. My calling is to help people grow. My calling is to add value to people wherever they are and point them to Christ. And so that's what I did. I began doing this full time October 2023. A business owner again.
Yeah.
I've done business ownership. I've had brick and mortar businesses in the past years ago. My wife had businesses. She still has a business today. I have a business today. Um, you know, um, it's something that grows you,
Mhm.
you know, but it also gives me opportunity to see through other people's eyes
Okay.
as well. Does that make sense? A little
Yes.
bit to make it helping see whatever I'm experiencing. It helps me to share that with other people too,
Okay.
and to go alongside of them. So anyway, I have that opportunity. I've been able to, go into several different companies, businesses. I do mastermind groups, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, speaking, trainings, all of those things. And most of it, what I've seen, John, is today. And I said this in April at our Lead on Purpose event that I did. So what I see right now in businesses a lot of
Mhm.
times is that it's not the strategies many times that's the problem. It's not the processes many times. It's that we haven't developed our teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can go 100% agree with that. I can 100% agree with that. Man. Yeah.
So that's what I'm seeing today, and we've tolerated culture. We've tolerated things, and it's created a culture. Excuse me,
Right.
and we've allowed certain standards and certain expectations to slide a little bit. I was in a business the other day, and the business owner was talking to me. Scott, things have changed. We've had some downturns. We have some different things happening, and so we talked about culture. What's changed in your culture? I mean, you used to be on top. Now you're not where you used to be.
Mm.
What's changed? And most of it was that they tolerated certain things, communication, things slid, things drifted. They wouldn't tolerate certain things in the past because of what they were trying to accomplish, their high expectations, but they've allowed expectations to slowly drift down and their standards began to drift, which created a different culture than they wanted to have. It wasn't no longer the winning culture they wanted, no longer the positive culture that they needed and wanted. Now they had drifted some, and so that all develops. Number one, with the leader, because we always know this, that everything rises and falls on leadership, right? That's
Yep.
number one. And so he understood. I have to take ownership. I have to take ownership of this. I have to take responsibility. I am the leader. But then now, what do I do? How do I turn around that culture? And one of the things is basically is just continuing to develop himself
Right.
and develop his team. That's the key.
I guess a leader who doesn't, like, you go in and you say, this is the issue. You recognize it and you see it. And the individual who's in that position denies that responsibility, then you're just going to stay where you're at.
Yeah, you're right. The organization will only grow as high as the leaders.
Right.
You know how the leader. In fact, there's the John Maxwell talks about this called the law of the leader, the law of the lid. Excuse me. And really, what that basically is that the leader becomes the lid of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
If the leader's not willing to grow, if the leader's not willing to grow himself, as I said before, I can't lead others if I don't lead me, right?
Right.
And I can't scale a business until I grow me, until I become better, until I, widen my perspective, until I see things differently, until I take more initiative in my own life to become better. Then I become the lid. We call it the bottleneck many times too. But the lid basically is the idea that in order for me to lift the lid, I've got to grow. Okay. And because if let's just say on a scale of 1 to 10, okay, and that your effectiveness as a leader is a 7, and you want level 8 leaders, you'll never get at level 8 or level 9 leaders. Why? Because your effectiveness is only at a 7. Only till you become a level 8 or level 9 do you then, of course, attract
Mm-hmm.
level 8 and level 9 leaders,
Right.
and then your organization begins to scale and begin to grow. A lot of owners, a lot of leaders don't realize that they're actually the one that's holding their organization down. Okay. Now, I know some owners say, okay, I'm going to step out of the way. I'm going to put a general manager there and let him lead. I get that. And sometimes that may be the best case. If that general manager is growth oriented, is about developing himself, and doesn't become the lid, doesn't become the lid to his organization.
You left in 2023 from pastoring to start this organization. What's the name of it?
Yeah, it's G. Scott Brown Leadership LLC. That's it.
How would people contact you?
Yeah. Number one, I've got my website, gscottbrown.com. My email, scott@gscottbrown.com. I've also got Facebook, Scott Brown, and G. Scott Brown Leadership. My Instagram is G. Scott Brown.
Wow.
Yeah, G is for Gary. My dad's name is Gary.
Yeah.
They didn't want to call me Gary, so they call me Scott, and I go by the letter G, Scott Brown.
That's amazing. Did you have the same relationship with your mother that you did with your father?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Both of them were loving parents. I couldn't ask for better parents, John. I really couldn't. My mom, man, was a servant leader,
Yeah.
just as much as my dad. My mom played piano in church.
Oh,
My
wow.
dad played guitar in church. Yeah.
Do you play anything?
I do play guitar. I haven't played in a while. In fact, it's one thing I told my dad this Friday. I'm going to take him out for lunch, and we're actually going to go to my good friend Kelly, who has Action Sound in Hawkins.
Yeah.
And we're looking at guitars. And anyway, needless to say, but yeah, it was funny though. I didn't play guitar when I was a kid. In fact, my mom and dad gave me as a Christmas present a guitar. I refused to play it because I felt my dad wanted me to play it. I was a little rebellious streak as a kid, right?
Everybody goes through that.
That never
Everybody
happened.
goes
That never
through
happens to
yeah.
anybody else, right? Yeah, just me, right? Yeah, I had that rebellious streak.
Oh,
No, I'm
man.
not going to play it. My dad wants me to play it. I'm not going to play it. Until I went to college. My roommate's name was Jimmy, and a good friend. And Jimmy played guitar. Guess what I wanted to do because Jimmy played guitar? Yeah, I brought that guitar from home and brought it to
Yeah.
college, and I learned how to play guitar.
It's funny though, but there's that influence that you're talking about, and
Huge.
people that don't know they have it, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have influence. We
Yeah.
just don't realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't
I think a
realize
lot
it.
of people, I have conversations with people and I tell them, especially people that are insecure or have issues with
Yes.
themselves, like, I can't do this or I can do that for whatever reason. I mean, the potential that you have is untapped.
Yeah,
And the only person that's holding the key to that door is you.
it's you.
Yeah. When you're ready to unlock it.
Yeah, it's there. And see, I believe that God put a potential inside of you as his gift to us.
Yeah.
Our gift back to God is fulfilling that potential he's put inside of us.
Amazing. Man, Scott, I'm telling you, like, I don't know. What church do you go to in Kilgore? Or do you go to church in Kilgore or in
No,
Longview?
now that I resigned, of course, they're switching. I felt, as a pastor many times, we don't want to go into a church, and
Uh-huh.
especially if you resign, you don't want to hinder the other pastor because, a lot of people, well, Scott is, still the, in their mind, you're still the
Yeah.
pastor. No, I'm not. So I left that church.
Mhm.
I go to church in Tyler.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I do. I have a lot of friends. I know a lot of pastors here.
Oh.
Great churches. Great churches in Longview, great churches in Kilgore. I know a lot of these pastors around here, great friends of mine. I never wanted, and I guess this is something my dad kind of instilled in me too, not because he had any problems, but as a pastor, when you resign from a church, you don't want to go into a church as a pastor because you're afraid that pastor is going to think, well, what's he doing here? Is he trying to, start
Yeah.
a new church and take some of my people? Is he trying to usurp my authority?
Yeah.
I never wanted to do that. And so I began to go to a church in Tyler, and I talked to the pastor there. I said, listen, I'm just here to serve. That's all I
Yeah.
want to do, serve. That's all I want to do. And so that's what I do. I serve. I'm on their prayer team. I pray during their services, and I'm up front praying for their people because I just want to serve. That's all I want to do is serve people.
Amazing. Every time, well, not every time, but there are many cases where a guest comes in and uh, they completely exceed the expectations that I have for them when they come to the podcast. And I often tell Rich, I feel like, and I'll tell that guest sometimes, like, I feel like God crossed our paths for a reason.
Yes.
Because the only thing I know about you, Scott, is that you're a le- I thought it was a life coach, but you're a leadership individual, and I'm like, so I'll spend some time trying to understand what was God's message here from you, because I enjoy whenever those interviews do exceed my
Mhm.
expectations, because I feel like there's a message that came with that for
Right.
me specifically,
Yeah.
and so that's really cool. I really appreciate that. I feel like whatever honor I had to do this interview just
Well,
escalated.
let me say this, John, about you, okay? Because I don't know a lot about you,
Mhm.
but I know this. Number one, you want to add value to your listeners.
Mhm.
You want them to learn from people that you interview, to take something away that adds value to their life.
Right.
What better way to do that than to do it on such a broad scale that we have this platform, right?
Mhm.
Years ago, we didn't have this platform.
Absolutely.
How did we influence years ago? Well, number one, books. That was it. And of course, conferences or speaking engagements or whatever the case may be. Now we have a plethora. I mean, with all the social media, with all the YouTube things we have, and you say, well, doesn't that muddy the water? I mean, is it too many? No, there's not. Because this is what I believe. There's always people looking.
Mhm.
There's always people looking. How can you help me? John, I learned this a long time ago. There's always three questions people are asking of us as leaders.
Mhm.
Always. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if your family, your wife, your kids. Doesn't matter if it's your people at work. It doesn't matter if it's the person at Walmart.
Right.
They're asking these three questions. These three questions are this. You ready? The first one is this, John, can you help me?
Mhm.
That's the first question. Why? We all need help.
Right.
All of us do. That's the very first question. Scott, can you help me today? If I'm listening to this podcast, Scott, what are you saying that would help me become a better person? When I go into a business, I know I'm there because number one, they're looking for help, right? And so I have to realize that as a leader, I have resources at my disposal. I call it tools in my tool belt, right?
Right.
And I have to, you and I both know that started a long time ago, putting tools in our tool belt. We had
Yeah.
to start that. And some people say, well, Scott, I don't have a lot of tools in my tool belt. Well, that's okay. Start today. Put some tools in your tool belt. Read. Listen to podcasts like John's. You know,
Yeah.
listen, learn, experience. You know, all of those things help people all the time. Okay, but that's one question that people are always asking: Can you help me? The second question is John, do you care about me? Do you
Mhm.
care about me, or you just care about getting followers? You just care about, about you looking good. Do you really truly care about me as a person? You see, as a leader, and there's probably some business owners right now, and some managers, and some other leaders in business that are listening to this. I want to say this, and specifically say this to those individuals today, and that's this: your people that's in your organization want to know, are you there for them, or are you just there for yourself? They really do. How do people know that you're there for them? Okay. Number one, you ask them really why they're there. What's your why? There's a book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. I don't know if you've ever read that book. It's a phenomenal book. Get the book. Start with why. But I take this away is that the thing is that people are in your organization for a reason. They're there for a purpose. They're there because God put them there, number one. They're also there for you as a leader to develop them, to help them grow, to help them become better. Okay. And by letting them know, because they're asking the question, do you really care about me? I want to spend time with them.
Mhm.
Okay. I want to spend time with them. I want to develop them. I want to know, hey, what is your real reason for being here? What's your why? What is your why for being here? Okay. I was working with a salesman some time ago, and he was kind of unmotivated, so to speak. In fact, I was asked to help kind of motivate him. And there's two things. There's motivation. There's inspiration.
Mhm.
Okay, motivation's an external thing. Okay, and people go for it. But once they get that, whatever that motivation, that could be a bonus, that could be a prize, it could be something. Hey, I'm motivated to get this. Once they obtain it, then what happens? Well, normally they just trek back down to where
Right.
they were. But inspiration is internal. It's something that gives you passion. It's something that wakes you up in the morning. It's something that gets you going. Hey, I'm ready to go. I got to accomplish this. Not because it's an external, but it's something in me that's driving me.
Mhm.
That's a passion. That's inspiration. And so what I began to do is I began to ask this particular sales guy. I said, "What's your why?" He looked at me kind of funny, kind of like what you're looking at me right now, John. Like, like, what do you mean why?
Yeah.
No, no. Why are you here? Well, I need work. Well, no, you can go to McDonald's and flip burgers. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, I mean, you could go anywhere.
Anywhere and get work.
Yeah, yeah. Why are you here? Well, I enjoy, and he was a salesman. I enjoy selling. I like what I do. I said, that's great. But why here? What is it that you're trying to accomplish through this? What is it that you really want in this? A lot of question, answer, back and forth. I always ask why. Why? Come down to it, is it basically, he said, Scott, I want to tell you. He said, I'm here. I make really good money. But he said, what I really want, my wife, I just newly married. And he said, I want to buy a house for my wife. I said, really? Why? He said, he kind of looked at me like, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do? I said, is it? Why?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'll tell you, my dad and my mom, he was in sales and we traveled a lot. And he said, I never had a house. We rented all over the United States. And we always moved. I never felt planted. I never felt secure wherever I was because I knew, hey, we're fixing to move again. We're going to move. We're going to move. I never felt secure. And he said, I don't want my wife and my future kids to feel that way. I said, now we're getting somewhere. I said, okay, so there's your why. I said, now that we know your why, I said, give me kind of an example of what it looks like if you want a house. Well, what do you mean? I said, paint me the picture. Paint me a picture of what that looks like. I said, because I know one thing. I said, you can say you want a house, but if you don't have a picture in your mind, you're not really going to go after it, right?
Mhm.
I said, here's the thing. I said, when I say the word elephant, do you think of the spelling of the word or do you actually think of an elephant? Well, of course, we all think of an elephant, right? Yeah, because that's how we think. I said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to paint me a picture of your why. You want a house. What color is it? Is it brick? Is it frame? Is it pier and beam? Is it foundation? Does it have shingle roofs or a Spanish style roof? Is it in the country? Is it in a subdivision? Is it by the lake? Paint me the picture with words. I said, because words are powerful.
Mhm.
I said, they're so powerful that God spoke the world into existence. The scripture says that our tongue gives life or death because of our words. I said, words are powerful. Explain to me. Tell me in words what that looks like. So he began to describe what it was. I said, write that down. There's your why. Then what I began to do is then I began to say, okay, now that we have your why, let's reverse engineer that.
Mhm.
How are you going to get to that? What's it going to take? The house you're describing, probably about a $350,000 house. I don't know, 20%, maybe $65,000. Okay. I said, I asked him what he was making, what he was doing, how many sales he was making, how many phone calls was he making, how many appointments, and then we reverse engineer how much money do you need to put back? Well, at $12,000 extra a year, 5 years, he would have $60,000. And I
Mhm.
said, okay. I said, how many more sales is that? Well, honestly, Scott, it's just like 4 extra sales. I said, four? That's all? 4 per month? He said, yeah, I could do 4 per month extra, have that extra $1,000 a month put back in savings. I'd have 12,000 a year. I said, there you go. Now we have a plan. This is what we need to do. How many phone calls does that make? How many appointments? How many extra sales? Now, when I go see him, I don't ask him how he's doing. I ask him, how's your why going?
Yeah.
How's your why? Then I know how he's doing at that point in time. That's how you know someone really cares about you, because you spent time looking for their why. Because here's what I know. Zig Ziglar said it best. Zig Ziglar, of course, a phenomenal motivational speaker, phenomenal book. He said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll always get what you want. But the key is helping people get what they want. As leaders, our job and responsibility is not to make profit for the company, only our sole responsibility. Our responsibility is to develop leaders, to help them get what they want, to help our team get those things that they need, to meet their why. Because if they're inspired to get to their why, guess what happens? They're inspired to help the company as well, because they're growing, because they're becoming better. So those two questions, can you help me? Do you care about me? Leads me to the third question that is the foundation of every relationship, and that is, can I trust you, John?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I trust you to be who you say you're going to be? Can I trust you to do the things you say you're going to do? Can I trust you that you have my best interest at heart, not just yours only as a leader? Yeah. Can I trust you? You see, that's key as a leader. People need to know that they can trust us, that we're trustworthy. I always say, as leaders, we're depositing trust in people's trust accounts every single day,
Mhm.
because unintentionally, sometimes we withdraw by things we say or things we do, or maybe we didn't meet someone's expectations. So I'm always having to put trust into
Yeah.
people's trust
I see
accounts.
that. I hear that. Yeah. Yeah. Experience that.
Yes, don't we all?
Yes. Yes.
But those are things that, as leaders, we have to look at, is answering those three questions every single day with people, and letting
Okay.
them know that, hey, I can help you. I do care about you, and you can trust me. And how do we do that? Through time, TIME. Spend time with people, developing them, helping grow them, helping them see themselves in a different light. They are value.
Amazing. Amazing. Man. So I think that you gave a lot of information that if somebody wants or is hearing it and says, I could use more, we'll put up information to
Yeah, yeah.
help them find you.
Appreciate
Uh,
that.
if today was the last day on earth, what would be your last day, not
Mhm.
not people's? What would your advice to humanity be?
Mm. Serve people.
Okay.
Serve people. I have to go back to Jesus Christ. I have to think about his last day. In fact, he was with his 12 disciples the night before, right? What did he do? What did he do? What did he show as an example for them to follow? I'll tell you what he did. He knelt down, he took a towel, and he washed the disciples' feet. He served people. When we serve people, we're adding value to them. We're letting them know you are valuable. Number one, you're valuable to God. I'm valuable to God. And if that's what God wants, because number one, he created us, he
Yeah.
respects us, he values us, then for me as a follower of Christ, I have to value people too, because that's what God wants. And so I honestly believe that if it was my last day on earth, and I look at humanity today, and I had one opportunity to share just one thing with people before I died, it was basically be serve one another, serve each other. That would solve a lot of the world's problems today, would it not? If you and I just served each other,
Hmm.
if we
If
just,
that was all the intent.
yeah, I'm not trying to
Amazing.
get something from you.
Yeah.
I don't have any other agenda. I'm not trying to, get something, "Hey, I'll serve you if you serve me." You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. No, 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 no. Unconditionally, without strings attached, serve one another.
All right. Well, we're going to end there. Thank you very much for joining us today.